You can't have a successful business, you can't have a profitable business, you can't have a really impactful business and fastest growing company kind of a thing without having a good team. Like you really need a team. Maybe there are some companies like who are kind of solopreneurs, like maybe just hire contractors. That is also a case. But for majority of the case, like you really need a good team. Leadership plays really important in having teams like who you trust or they trust you is very important. So having a team, having a group of people like who are dedicated, who can really share the type of vision that you have for the company, who are also very passionate about what you're doing is very important.
Welcome to Grow Think Tank. This is the one and only place where you will get insight from the founders and the CEOs of the fastest growing privately held companies. I am the host. My name is Gene Hammett. I help leaders and their teams navigate the defining moments of their growth. Are you ready to grow?
Today, we look at scaling your business and team through leadership. Scaling your business isn't just a great product. It takes the right people, it takes the right leadership. And in fact, those things, a lot of people don't really understand how they change, because when you have, 3 employees, it's going to be very different than when you have 10. And then when you have 100 employees, it's going to change. And there's different inflection points for different types of businesses, but you have to understand that when the doer is no longer in the room where the decision was made, or the reason why we're moving forward, or the plan, communication rhythms change. And so today we talk about scaling your business and team through leadership with our special guest. He's the CEO of Authors on Mission. They create books for authors and speakers and coaches, consultants, and people that want to get their work out into the world and build their personal brand and thought leadership. The CEO is Vikrant Shaurya. Hopefully I got that pronunciation right. But Vikrant and I talk about his own brand of leadership and why it's so important. He did show a vulnerable moment talking about some of the challenges he's faced. And if you're watching on the video, it's this thing right here, the tough conversations. You'll find out more inside the interview with him. And so really happy to bring you this episode of Growth Think Tank, talking about scaling your business and team through leadership. My name is Gene Hammett. I'm an executive coach. I've been doing this for over a decade, and I really love working with companies that have a big opportunity in front of them. That big opportunity requires them to align together, requires them to have different kinds of conversations, maybe even accept different types of change and innovation. Now, that's where I excel. Most of my clients have been from the Inc. 5000. I have a few clients that have not been on the Inc. 5000, but they're growing fast, and those big opportunities are coming pretty fast. And so I've been able to really enjoy working with companies that move from 4 million to 17 million. I've had some companies move from 10 million to 50 million. I've had some companies go from 100 million to 200 million. But whatever the challenge is, if you feel like you could use a dose of insight or maybe perspective that would help you seize the opportunity in front of you, I'd love to chat with you about your business, about your leadership, and about the things that are necessary for you to keep moving. We would create a plan together, prioritize the elements of the plan that are most important, maybe even address some of the blind spots that you're currently experiencing. And we do all this in a non-sales pitch, no pressure kind of call. And it really looks like coaching and feels like coaching. So if you're interested in that, send me an email, gene@genehammett.com. When you think of growth and you think of leadership, think of Growth Think Tank. Now, here's the interview with Vikrant. Vikrant, how are you?
Hey, Jin, I'm fantastic. Looking forward to it.
Excited to have you on the podcast today to talk about leadership. Before we dive into that, let's talk about your company. Give us a perspective of Authors on Mission.
Yeah, so simply we help entrepreneurs, coaches, thought leaders write and publish books. We work with people like who are busy in the business, or maybe they don't have the time or skill set to write a book. We offer them done for you book writing, publishing, marketing services that help them become a publisher. This is what we do in this business for over a decade now, and have helped thousands of our clients on this process.
I want to have a follow-up question. We're going to spend most of our time talking about leadership today, but I think books are an incredible tool, and for the price that someone invests, if they're willing to read it and maybe reread it 2 or 3 times, in my opinion, not try to do 50 books a year, but how do you read one book 5 times? But with AI coming in, a lot of people think that they can probably create a book pretty easily because it's pretty good content. I mean, it's not perfect, it's not ideal, but how are you approaching the AI in the creation of the books for your authors?
For us, we are at the stage where we still are not using AI in the book creation process.
You're not
Maybe we
using it?
can. No, we are not.
Okay.
Especially in the book writing and the editing, proofreading, we are not using it. The reason being is like when we are trying to publish the book on Amazon, ADP, now they're having an option of asking. They are asking whether the book is AI generated or not.
Right.
And at one point or another time, like they will somehow, like they are not doing it right now, but for sure they are going to do it in a couple of months, year, you don't know. They might keep the AI books in a different section
Yeah.
and the human written books in a different section. And that's going to definitely impact the branding of the books. The type of people that we work with, they they want to be authentic with their story. They want to be authentic with their messages and their experience, their ideas. And if we will be using AI, and this is definitely going to be impacting how they are structuring the message. So we really don't know. That's what we do. That's what
Well,
we
I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, I use AI for different things, usually as an
do.
idea generator. I know in even my book on tough conversations, every time I'm like, you might have a heading for a paragraph or two paragraphs or three paragraphs, and I put up something that might be, okay, and then I'll go into AI and go, give me 10 more, and maybe there might be one that might be interesting. So I didn't have it write the book, but I did collaborate with it, if that makes sense, because
Yeah.
it's a fun thought partner. But I would not want my brand to be, labeled AI generated book, and it wasn't something that I wanted to risk. And this was early when I was writing. It was early in the AI. It's things are evolving quickly, as you can imagine. But I appreciate your insight around that. One more last
Yeah,
question.
same
Go ahead.
same goes with like when you are writing blog posts or articles and publishing it on your blog. Google right now is kind of penalizing the AI content that you're producing.
Yeah.
So it is not really helping you out. Like it is not helping you rank the articles and blogs. Google is very good with finding out which article is human written, which article is AI generated. Same is going to happen with books as well on Amazon or other platforms. So that's why like we are right now it is not happening, but Amazon has started doing surveys right now, and at one point or another, it will definitely knock down the books that are AI generated.
Well, let's transition into, the scaling the business. I mean, you made the Inc. list, 286 out of 5,000 for the Inc. 5,000 is based on 3 years of revenue growth. You were over 1,400% in 3 years. What is the biggest lesson you learned in scaling a business to this level in terms of leadership?
Another lesson is definitely you can't have a successful business, can't have a profitable business, you can't have a really impactful business and fastest growing company kind of a thing without having a good team. Like you really need a team. Maybe there are some companies like who are kind of a solopreneurs, like maybe just hired contractors. That is also a case. But for majority of the case, like you really need a good team. Leadership plays really important in having teams like who you trust or they trust you is very important. So having a team, having a group of people like who are dedicated, who can really share the type of vision that you have for the company, can really who are also very passionate about what you are doing is very important. So this is what I've learned. So initially, like when I started the company, we were very new. Like I started the company and I started alone. But down the line, like I understood the importance of team, having a culture, having good leadership in place to really grow the company very fast.
Well, I know that I've done hundreds of these interviews. I think it's about 800 to now with CEOs of fast growth companies. And it is really important to have the right team. In fact, I will ask a question. I'll ask you the question today. I don't ask this as much anymore, but I call it the impossible question because you need both of these things for any business to really scale and survive. But as a leader of a fast growth business, what's more important, your customers or your people? Your employees?
So for me, personally, I always prefer my team.
Yep.
And of course, And how I do it is, if I really take care of my team, I know that the team will take care of my customers.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of thought process I have. The place where I'm right now as CEO, I really don't, I don't, most of the time, like I never get a chance to talk to my customers directly. Maybe this year they send some emails here and there. So it takes around 6 months to even 1 year to complete the book. And they come, they write the book with us, they publish the book, and the team handles everything for us. So I'm not the one like who's communicating with the clients and the customers.
Yeah.
For me, like I am communicating with the team every single day. And in order for me to really serve my customers, I really have to take care of my team. So for me, that's why like the team is very important. If the team is like I am really taking care of the team, I know for sure that the customer, like the team, will do justice and they will deliver the service in a right way. So that's my thought process.
Now, I asked Vikrant the impossible question. I'll ask you again just to bring you centered on it. As a leader of a fast growth company, what's more important, your customers or your employees? Now, he said it was his team, right? The employees. And 93% of the people I've asked on the Inc. 5000 would say that it's team too. They can give different reasons for it, but it's very clear and logical about why leaders should be focused on the team members and let the team members focus on the customers. And that is how you scale a business over time. If you're only as a leader focused on customers, you probably make some decisions that don't align with team dynamics, and they feel it. And maybe they even feel a lack of psychological safety, which impacts a lot of different things from performance to retention to engagement. And so you want to make sure that you as a leader really take care of the people, care for them, talk to them, listen to them, let them be heard, and let the best ideas win. All of these things I've talked about with my clients, and I just share it with you because I know how important it is. And I'm happy to go deeper if you're curious about any of these aspects. Back to Vikrant. I'm glad you said team because that's what most Inc. Members will say. I've had it go the other way where they'll say it's customers, but I agree with you. I think when you take care of your people, they're more likely to take care of the customers, and the business will be healthy because of that. With your team, it's you've grown to a place where you've added lots of new people. What are some of the things that have changed in your journey of leadership as you've gone from, maybe an 8-person team to now 80 people? And I know you have a lot more contractors that work in the business, but what are some of the challenges you've faced in that growth?
So one of the I would say I'm really not good with tough conversations. That's my weakness. Yeah. So of course you have written a book on that, but it is one of my biggest weaknesses, and I know that it is my biggest weakness since the beginning. And for example, if I get to know that this person in my company is not working well, this person is not productive, maybe this person is not delivering what we asked for, I just or we are at a certain stage, like even after some verbal warnings or written warnings, I really, really can't go and talk to this person and just say, hey, you're fired. I'm not good with that. I swear, I have tried it in the past, and some way or the other, like if the person starts saying that, hey, I have a kid or I have a family, and so I just get into the emotional zone, and I never am able to make the right decision. So just to really solve this problem, I had hired a head of operations, like a person who was very trustworthy for me. Like she was working for me for more than 4 or 5 years. I at one point I had to hire her on for this role. So she's managing all the people, right? She is managing all the tough conversations, right? So whatever she thinks that, so she's doing all of these things, like all of these dirty things on my behalf, and I really I'm so blessed to have her because it is my weakness. I just can't do it myself. So she's really good with that. She just tells everybody, hey, this is what you're doing. Like you have to fix it, otherwise you'll be gone. So this is what I have really experienced. And how I solved it is by hiring somebody who was good with that and paying her so that she is doing all of these things.
I get it, and I've heard this before. And I'm not going to turn this into a coaching session because I don't want to really expose you, but you have to look at the words you said there. These dirty things. I think a tough conversation is a place for growth. And I think when you address it with someone, that you have a chance to get back in alignment. And it's a good thing, not a dirty thing. But I won't dive into that for you, but I
Yeah.
appreciate your vulnerability and honesty here. And for those that are not looking at the video, I wrote a book on tough conversations, and we didn't plan this. I didn't know this would be your biggest challenge, but I appreciate you sharing honest. I think a lot of people struggle with it, and they do avoid it, and that can be dangerous, especially if you don't have a head of operations that can do it for you.
Yeah. Right.
Vikrant, I want to talk a little bit more about, in the beginning stages of a business, you're trying to find product market fit, right? You've got this idea, it's you and maybe even a handful of people in the beginning. Things are pretty easy. You communicate, everyone's in the room that's doing the work. But as you get to a place where you are now, your communication rhythms have to change. Can you walk us through some of the things that you've experienced on maybe just communication as your company has scaled to this level?
So for us, we have more than 70 full-time employees, plus we have more than 500 contractors. We have a couple of hundreds of part-time employees as well, right? So there's so many moving pieces here and there. There's so many people we are working right now. And for us, I just divide the entire operations into 3 or 4 departments. The first is lead gen or marketing. You can say marketing or lead gen. So basically, people like customers or prospects who are completely unaware about the company, like reaching out to them and making sure that they have appointments. So that's the lead gen department. The second is sales, like handling all the sales calls. So then comes the fulfillment, and the fourth could be branding. So these are the 4 major departments we have. For all of these 4 departments, we have a leader, person who is handling all of these different departments. For me, most of the time I don't get a chance at this point to talk to each and every employees or contractors, but I try to talk to these leaders, these managers on bi-weekly basis, checking exactly what's going on, making sure that things are going smoothly. So what happens is, for us, numbers are really important, right? Of course, leadership is good, culture is fine, but having numbers, like setting up the right KPIs and making sure that everybody is working towards the set numbers, and the KPI is very important. For example, Legion, how many calls are we booking on a daily basis? How many calls did we book last month? How many calls did we book this month? Is it improving? If it is not improving, why it's not improving? Same goes with the sales department. How many sales conversions we are having? How many follow-ups are we doing? How many client calls are we doing? So basically, are we onboarding them properly or not? Same with fulfillment. How many complaints we are having this month? So we have to, have proper numbers for each and everything, giving the right numbers to the leaders so that they will have something to work on. Otherwise, without numbers, we really, really can't quantify the leadership. Leadership is a very, very, very vast thing, but having proper numbers and creating the systems around that so that everybody's working toward the numbers and the KPI is crucial. So for us, how we are able to manage all the team members, because we try very, very hard to work on the numbers, and we have systems for everything. For all the departments, we track each and everything. Although I'm not very good with numbers, but I have team members who are good with that. So we follow that. We make sure that the KPIs are done. And I try to evaluate every single day what's going on in every department. And based on that, we go on a call with these different leaders and try to improve exactly how can we. So yeah, this is what we're doing.
Now, Vikrant's talking about the numbers and specifically the KPIs that employees are assigned to track in their different departments. I think this is an incredible way to hold people accountable. It's simple, it's clear, it's explicit, it can't be misunderstood. If you were supposed to get so many meetings, or you're supposed to have so many sales calls or conversions or a dollar amount, fulfillment, customer service, all these things can be tracked in numbers. What I do prefer is that one person own the number, not a team of people, but one leader has responsibility or ownership, if you will, of that number, and others are supporting that for sure, but there's a level of ownership that really goes deep, and pride to stay on track, to grow those numbers. When that's happening, I see a lot more successful organizations. I also love a transparent element for it, letting everyone see what the numbers of other departments are, see how they're progressing over time, and all of those things are really cool to be able to see and do for businesses. So if you are tracking numbers now and you have an ownership of this, great. If you don't have the level of transparency, then that's something you can think about adding. I like remarkable transparency. It adds to a sense of ownership and the feeling of ownership of people across the company. And so I just wanted to mention that for you as you're listening to today's episode. Back to the interview with Vikrant. I'm a numbers person too. I'm an engineer by education, so spreadsheets are kind of my love language sometimes. My wife, not so much. But when you are doing this, I think I heard you say this, you give each leader probably a few numbers, right? So maybe some leaders might have one or two, some might have three or four. Is this a transparent thing? Like, does everyone see where everyone else is, or is it kind of kept in different silos or departments? I'm just curious. I think.
So lead gen. So of course the head of operations, the person Stephanie, like who handles the people and all that, she knows about everything, right? The entire business. Then comes all the other departments: lead gen, marketing, sales, fulfillment, branding. So fulfillment, like they don't have to know what's going on with the lead gen department. They don't have to know what's going on with the sales department. They really have to focus on what's going on with their department. They just have to work on their numbers. So it is not necessary for them to know what's going on in different departments and what are their KPIs for them. So it's just distracting for them. So it's just distraction. So that's why everybody just follows on their departments and their numbers and KPIs.
Vikrant, one last question. Leadership, you've said, is very important. Team is extremely important. What are the leadership principles that really guide you as you've scaled to this level of company?
And I know that I don't know, but for me, empathy is the key for me to have people who work with me for several years. Still, they're working with me. They have, I get to know that they get better offer than what they are getting in my company from other companies, but still they're working with me because they know that I really care about them. Whenever I get to know that somebody is in need, so maybe their family is in need, I'm always there for them, always supporting them. So that's also one of the reasons I really can't, go and talk to them and fire them because I'm not good with it. I have that level of, I'm kind of very emotional person. And for me, I'm driven by empathy, right?
Yeah.
And for me, that's why people that I work with, I really, really care for them. And they know that. So for me, that is leadership. And I really want to build that kind of culture in my company as well. There's some sort of culture in that as well. They would really work kind of a family in order to, and they are working on, delivering the clients and fulfilling all the services. But at the same time, I really have the same level of empathy that I have for them in their team members as well. So yeah, for me, that's leadership.
Well, thank you so much sharing your principles, sharing your strategies, and kind of really give us a peek into Authors on a Mission. And thanks for being here on the podcast.
Thanks, Steve.
Wow, what a great interview. I love talking to him about how he's approached the scaling the business, scaling the team, and really his own leadership and some of the challenges he had. I appreciate the vulnerability. I appreciate him giving you some details about the numbers. We're in agreement with most of that. I will tell you that the one area I would probably stress to be a little bit different would be the numbers should be transparent across the organization. I've had the chance to do over 800 of these interviews, and many of the CEOs have talked about the importance of transparency across teams to break down silos so that people are held accountable, even if it's indirectly, but that, they're aware of the growth, and if there's a challenge, they're able to rally and maybe even come up with new ideas. I love this idea of transparency, and hopefully you see it the same way as me. When you think of growth and you think of leadership, think of Growth Think Tank. As always, live with courage. We'll see you next time.